First, let me thank everybody for being here with us today as we talk about the winter storm affecting large regions across the state of Texas. As we have gone through our analysis about what we're doing, we're putting public safety first. Obviously, the lives of our fellow Texans are by far the most important thing, and we're directing resources and that will remain in place across much of the state, especially in the northern half of the state of Texas, where high temperatures are struggling to get even out of the 30s. Rain, sleet, freezing, snow will begin to push into West Texas this afternoon and will continue to spread eastward, impacting west central, north, and northeast Texas through Friday morning. Potentially significant road impacts in the form of snow, ice, and accumulations may occur from West Texas through the Big Country, Concho Valley, and northern Hill Country. Higher snowfall amounts are forecast to occur around the Dallas-Fort Worth area and over much of northeast Texas. In addition to the wintry precipitation, central, southeast, and south Texas may get some rain, which may lead to flash flooding in certain coastal communities. Importantly for the safety of our fellow Texans are warming centers. As of this morning, more than 345 warming centers have been opened by local officials across the state. These warming center locations can be found at tdem.texas.gov/warm. The public is encouraged to call 211 or visit 211texas.org and monitor local media outlets for their closest warming center. So to help Texas stay safe and warm, I've deployed emergency response resources from more than a dozen agencies across the state of Texas to help our fellow Texans. One of them involves, obviously, the Public Utilities Commission. One thing we want to make sure, and that is we maintain power throughout this winter episode. The good news is you will hear more from both ERCOT and Public Utilities Commission officials, and that is the power grid looks in a very, very strong situation. What we have to deal with is not so much whether or not there's going to be power on the power grid to power the entire state of Texas, but local impacts because of freezing rain on power lines that could cause down power lines or could cause trees or tree limbs and things like that to fall to cause a power line to go down. The point is this: if there is a loss of power, it's not going to be because of the power grid. It's going to be because of some impact on a local power line that your local power provider is going to be responsible for addressing. So it's important at this time to make sure you have all the contact information that you need, whether it be by phone, by texting, by website, whatever the case may be. You're going to be able to contact your local power provider to make sure, for one, you can learn about the situation, but for another, you can report that your power is down. You need to get it set back up. A very important agency in times like this is the Texas Department of Transportation. They have over 2,000 employees already deployed, treating roads and bridges and overpasses. Crews are out again today, treating roadways. We want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to make our roadways as safe as possible. And I cannot emphasize enough to my fellow Texans, listen, we're not used to driving on ice and snow. We're not used to driving in conditions like this. Be careful, be cautious, make sure that you're protecting your own life. If you do get out on the road, drive safely. If you don't need to be out on the road, if you're one of the parts of the state that's going to have icy roads, stay home for the next day or so, or do so in ways that you're not going to be driving in dangerous conditions. TxDOT is working 24/7. 16 roads have been impacted as of 8 o'clock this morning, primarily in northwest Texas. TxDOT is coordinating with state partners as well as local partners to provide additional support on major highways and corridors. The Texas National Guard has been heavily involved. They have activated hundreds of National Guard personnel and equipment in support of winter weather operations. Resources are staged across areas of concern. Responders are stocked with water, ready-to-eat meals and blankets, and are prepared to transport stranded motorists to nearby warming stations. We also have the Texas A&M Forest Service actively involved. That they're providing saw crews, motor graders, and personnel to assist with clearing ice and snow. The Texas Railroad Commission has been involved. This is very important to make sure we're going to have all the natural gas supplies to provide the power generation that we need. And the Railroad Commission has been in contact with all the providers of that, making sure that the plentiful natural gas supplies that will be needed are going to be available. The Texas Department of Public Safety is providing extensive number of highway patrol troopers to patrol roadways and assist motorists in all of the affected regions. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, they have deployed game wardens to support local law enforcement, as well as provide high-profile vehicles to assist stranded motorists, and are using drones to be able to better observe the area to make sure that they're able to fully monitor to determine if there's anybody in a distressed situation. And Texans can find warming centers open and operated by local officials at tdm.texas.gov/warm and check out road conditions at drivetexas.org. I want to express my gratitude for all of the emergency first responders who are engaged at the state and local level at this time. Your role, your service is more critical now than almost any other time as we work collaboratively to protect our fellow Texans. And I also want to thank everybody involved in emergency response. You can see behind me there are people here. This operations center is working 24/7, but not just here, but as well as across the state of Texas to make sure that the needs of our fellow Texans are going to be fully met at this time. Where do you go to next? You?
I'll take it. Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Governor. And listen, thank you all for being here with us today and helping us get this message out. I have 4 points that I'd like to address. The first one is I need your help in making sure the public stays weather aware. The models for this particular storm have been varied as how much rain and how much ice and how much snow we're going to get and what the temperatures will be. What the meteorologists tell us is just 1 or 2 degrees in temperature difference and height of that temperature could mean the difference between no snow or up to 10 to 12 inches of snow. So really need your help making sure our public is weather aware. Stay tuned to the media. Make sure that they've charged their phones and that they're getting accurate information. The second is we know people are going to be traveling, and stranded motorists is probably my biggest concern right now is people getting out on the roads, because we'll see temperatures warm up above freezing during the day, and then any moisture that's on the ground is going to refreeze at night. And the roads can be very treacherous if you can't see where you're driving. So if you're going to be out on the road, know that we have the Department of Public Safety. Our military department will be out. Parks and Wildlife game wardens will be out. The A&M Forest Service will have courtesy crews out, and as well as our TDM folks. They're going to have food and water and blankets, and will be able to take you to a warming center. Now, our local partners have already opened over 340 warming centers. As the governor mentioned, you can find those locations on the website there. The warming centers, additional ones will be opened. And then really the fourth thing I want to mention is if people are out driving, you're going to hear in a minute that the grid conditions are fine. They're perfect. We're not going to have any problem with that. But ice on trees, ice on power lines, or somebody losing control and hitting a power pole could make you lose power at your house. I want you to also make sure that you have blankets at your house, that you have enough food, that you have enough water, and that you know the number to your local power company so that you can get information from them about when your power may be back on. We see this every year whenever it gets cold and people lose power or they try to find additional ways to stay warm. We have carbon monoxide poisonings and deaths, and those are preventable injuries. And so I need your help in getting those top safety recommendations out for people to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning and death. That's all I have, Governor.
Very good. Where do we go to?
Let's go to TxDOT next.
Okay.
Well, thank you. So TxDOT crews have been out pre-treating roadways across the state since Friday afternoon, peaking yesterday at about 2,100 employees out pre-treating the roadways. We are also staging crews from South Texas in the DFW area where we think there'll be impacts, and at the I-10, I-20 split in West Texas and along that I-20 corridor where we think there'll be additional impacts. We are encouraging folks to, if the roadways are impacted, not to drive if you don't have to. But if you do and you run across our crews treating the roadways, please give them a wide berth and let them do their job for you. The other thing we're encouraging is folks that before you do get out on the roadways, check drivetexas.org for the current road conditions. That is kept up to date to the minute. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much. And now we will hear from ERCOT, the power grid operator in the state of Texas.
Thank you, Governor. As the Governor noted and Chief Kidd noted, we do expect to have more than adequate supply of power to serve the state throughout this winter event. As a point of reference, we have added more than 10,000 megawatts of new generation just this year since the last winter. And so we've got more supply on the grid than we ever have had before, and we've been coordinating very closely with all the power generators and the transmission distribution utility companies over the last week in preparations for this upcoming weather event. One of the things we also do to make sure that there will be adequate power throughout an event like this is we inspect power generating facilities throughout the winter. We've already inspected around 150 power and transmission facilities in December alone. We'll hit another 170 stations this January, and we'll continue to do that through February, through the winter season. The inspections are going very well. The generator and transmission community have been doing everything they need to do to make sure that their facilities will be running safely and reliably throughout events just like this. So I just want to reiterate, if you do experience a power outage, it's very likely due to a local utility issue. It could be ice on lines, ice on trees, somebody hits a power pole. Call or reach out to your local utility. You can also go to the Public Utility Commission website. They track outages there and can give you good information as to what's going on. So thank you, Governor.
Thank you very much. And now the chair of the Texas Public Utilities Commission.
Thank you, Governor. So as the Governor said, I think my overarching message today is the grid is well positioned to perform during this winter weather event. The work that has been done over the past 4 years has really made a difference to help ensure that. Over the last week and throughout really the whole winter, the generating community, the transmission distribution community has done all the work necessary to weatherize and winterize all of their facilities. They've done extra measures to ensure that any vegetation that needs to be cut back and managed has been done so that ice on trees will have a minimal impact on their infrastructure. The generators have assured me that they have ample fuel supply to get us through this winter, including this event. So I have full confidence in our generating community and transmission distribution system that we will get through this unscathed. What I want to ask the public is two things. One, if you need information, please go to our website, a storm resources page. That's puc.texas.gov/storm. There, as the governor said, you can find a number of resources, including access to the outage maps, which are all up and running from the different transmission distribution utilities. And you can also find contact information for each of those utilities. If you have an outage, it's a localized outage, please contact your local utility to address that issue. And finally, I would ask, as we always do, if you encounter a downed power line, please do not approach it, do not touch it. Call your local authorities and your local power utility. They can come and handle that safely. We don't need any fatalities from downed power lines. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you very much. Listen, again, the reality is as much as we try to discourage people traveling on treacherous roads, we know that some people are going to get out there on those roads, and there may be some people who get stranded. We want to make sure everyone knows that there is an easy phone call that you can make if you do get stranded on the roads. If you go to the back of your driver's license, at the very bottom down here, there is a number for roadside assistance. It's 1-800-525-5555. Just pull out your license, check out the number at the bottom, make the phone call, and there will be someone who will answer that, who will be able to more quickly assist you in your stranded situation. With that, we'll be able to take a few questions.
Governor, I'd love to go back to the grid and talk specifically about that. You speak with confidence when you say, as did Mr. Vegas, that the grid is going to be sturdy and reliable throughout the storm. At the same time, you've also very publicly said that you think that the legislature needs to invest more in the grid given those energy supply and demand trends that we're heading towards nearly doubling by 2030. Just kind of walk me through, how do you reconcile those two ideas, that we are going to be okay just this week alone, but that we have so much work ahead of us?
So first, where we are today, and that is because of almost 20 laws that I've signed, the power grid is much more reliable and resilient than there's ever been in the history of the state of Texas. As Pablo indicated, listen, we have abundant supply that was added to the power grid over the course of the past year. If you look at the ERCOT site, you can see that there's going to be abundant available supply over what the demand is going to be. And so when you take that into consideration, as well as part of the laws that I signed, ensure that the power generators, the transmitters, from the wellhead when natural gas comes out of the ground, as well as storage of natural gas, it is far different and far better than it's ever been in the history of the state of Texas. That said, we know these two facts. Last year alone, there were more than 600,000 people who moved to the state of Texas. We have more than 340 economic development projects in our pipeline. We're going to have many more businesses coming to the state of Texas, some of which will be heavy users of power, such as AI data centers. And so for Texas to maintain its national leadership for economic development and for growth, we need to make sure that we continue to add more power to our grid so that the power will stay on for every home and for every business. And that's why, once again, when we go into this next session, we'll be asking for more money to generate more dispatchable power in the state of Texas.
Yep, Governor, we've been here a lot, it seems like over the years with winter storm issues. Do we have more snow plows and de-icing equipment? Have we added to our fleets over these last few years? As we seem like, again, we're here, it seems like every winter at this point.
Sure, well, that's what winter's all about. But as far as the amount and availability of things like snowplows, et cetera, I think I should leave that to TxDOT to answer.
We absolutely do, and we've learned a lot over the past 15, 20 years on how better to treat roadways in these conditions. So we do have more plows, we have more equipment, we have them staged across the state more strategically, and they're all staged and ready to go for this event.
Governor, what scares more to the authorities, like in general with this winter weather?
So I missed the first part of the question.
What is scares to the authorities, like with this in general weather time?
All right, so the way that every agency in the state of Texas is prepared, as well as the way that local governments are getting prepared, it looks like we're ready to go to make sure that everyone's going to have access to every tool and resource that's going to be needed to be able to make it through this. Remember, this is not going to be a long event. It will begin mostly tonight and last mostly through Friday. And so this is going to be something that, hopefully will just be a couple of days long, and the needs of most Texans are going to be easily met.
Is there any impact on the travel to the game up in Dallas? It's like, what impact, have you had a conversation with the college football people about what's to come?
So I've had conversations with multiple people about it, including in the briefing that we just had before coming into here, knowing that you would ask the question about UT football. But listen, and I was assured, as I have been by other sources, and that is there should be no hindrance to people being able to attend the game. Obviously, with potential snow or icing conditions in the DFW area, on I-35, on I-20, on all the different interstates or roadways that lead to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, is incredibly important that everybody drive extra safe. If you're very cautious and slow and methodical in your driving, everything's going to be just fine.
Do you have strategically placed resources in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, since that seems to be kind of where some of this
Yep.
force is going to be?
Absolutely. We talked about exactly that, and I got the answer from TxDOT. I'll be happy to have them share it with you.
Great.
Yeah, so we're moving crews from South Texas that aren't impacted by this up to the DFW area mainly because we think that's going to be where most people are impacted from this storm. But that'll handle the game traffic also.
The Dallas Morning News here, so I'm just looking for the specifics, so I appreciate that. Yeah, anything you guys can tell us about how you're shoring up the local resources.
Yeah, so it's really moving those crews, so we have additional crews that are going to be ready to go to treat hot spots. We do believe that the pre-treating is going to work. But if there is some accumulation, that pre-treating also helps us get the ice removed from the roadways easier. So we're fully prepared for this event, and again, those resources from South Texas are going to really help us in the DFW area.
Two more
Can you talk a
questions,
little bit about
folks.
that pre-treating? I know, I think Monday evening, I-35 in downtown Austin was being treated. Can you talk a little bit about how that works and sort of the strategy about that?
Yeah, so we, in advance of these storms, we believe that pre-treating with a brine liquid, which is a mix of water and salt, really helps us manage the ice accumulation. So one, it helps from ice accumulating, and then two, if ice does accumulate, it keeps that ice from bonding with the pavement, so it's easier to get off. We've pre-treated all of what we call Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 roadways in these impacted areas. We will be prepared to treat hot spots as they come up during the event, but we've found that the pre-treating really proves successful in these type of events.
One more question, folks.
I want to add something real
Go
quick.
ahead.
So, and I appreciate both of y'all's questions. Listen, there's three key factors in how this is going to play out. The first is the weather. None of us can control how that's going to happen. And as I mentioned earlier, the meteorologists from the National Weather Service are saying 1 to 2 degree in temperature change at different elevations can mean the difference between a little bit of moisture and a whole lot of moisture on the ground. We cannot control that. I need your help in getting the message to the public about if they're going to be out and travel, or if they have ice on their sidewalks, getting out and just walking around, that can be very dangerous. Make sure we get that message to the public. And then the third thing that we can control is what the state agencies are doing. And the agencies are ready. We have all of our resources focused from the I-10-20 split, running up I-20 all the way out through Texarkana, because that's where the current forecast shows our biggest threat. So those three conditions, one we can't control, the second one I need your help in getting that message out, and the third one we're ready.
Can I ask about vegetation? You guys spoke about that. You know,
Right.
a couple of years ago, we were right in this room when Austin had that huge ice storm, and it was all essentially because of tree limbs that had fallen on those power lines. Talk to me a little bit about the changes that have been made statewide as far as making sure our vegetation stays in good shape to make sure that that doesn't happen again.
So what happened in prior events, whether it be the winter storm in Austin and the surrounding area, or what happened in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl over in the Center Point service area? Completely unacceptable. Because of those situations where people lost power, because of the failure of local power companies to remove that vegetation, we've ensured, well, let's say, put it this way, we put extraordinary pressure on all of these power providers to make sure that they remove the vegetation that could cause power lines to come down. Encore, which is responsible for a lot of the North Texas area that will be mostly impacted by this winter storm, has been very aggressive over the past week or two in advance of this storm to make sure they are redoubling their efforts to remove vegetation in the area to minimize the cause of down power lines, which often comes from that vegetation. But this is something that we are currently in an ongoing way putting pressure on all of these local power providers, because what happened at Hurricane Beryl, completely unacceptable. What happened in Austin, completely unacceptable. And because they've been held accountable for those failures, they are now better prepared than they have been for vegetation causes of down power lines.
Great, thank you, everyone.
I don't know. I'll be working 24/7 on this. We'll see.